something wrong here. I'd say that's an improvement. No, maybe not by much. Okay, let's try this. That's, I guess that's serviceable. I'll put this down a little bit so that you can see my glamorous face as I reach for a cough drop. So yeah, I just admitted something very controversial a few minutes ago before starting this episode. I, as of last night, have only seen the movie Beetlejuice for the very first time. Yeah, I never watched it as a kid. My parents were extremely selective of what I was allowed to watch and what I wasn't. It's hard to believe that that movie led to the creation of an animated series, because holy crap, there is just so much in there that I'm just like, wow. If I saw this as a kid, I mean, wow. No, but the cartoon that I grew up with was wonderful. Love the cartoon. And it was actually done by the same studio that did Care Bears, Nelvana, which I don't think Nelvana gets enough credit for their contributions to the animated medium. Especially with some of their early masterpieces like The Devil and Daniel Mouse, Rock and Rule, which, if you've never seen Rock and Rule, I highly recommend it. I mean, of course, everyone remembers Care Bears. Can't understand why, but you know, at the same time, it's Care Bears. If you grew up in the '80s, you knew what that was. But also Beetlejuice. Yeah, you know, I mean, it was a Canadian production, so. Oh yeah, there's a GIF right here. Oh, let's do something about that. So, just get a little bit settled here. So I'm gonna move. I sometimes forget that. I'm not entirely in focus, am I? I mean, on screen. Yeah. Now I'm over here. Now I'm over here. I'm over here. I'm over here. I like this. I like this new setup. I had the camera in a tube, so I can't really put it on a tripod. I don't want to be tripping over stuff constantly. I don't want the cats to be screwing around or anything. So, you might be thinking, what does the title suggest if you just happen to see, oh, Drezen Draws went live? Well, some context. See this cover right here? This is a cover from a copy, not my copy, of Flash number 123, which I believe is 1961 or 2. I'm not a comics historian, so you'll have to bear with me. But this is one of the most famous comic book covers of all time. And I'm going to ruin it by substituting then contemporary Flash and Jay Garrick, original 1940 Flash, with Freakazoid and Captain Planet, respectively, but very disrespectfully. And this dude right here, I'm going to make him Freakazoid's brother, Duncan. So why don't we start the music and get into this. this nonsense. So, first and foremost, like I do with my other comic stuff, we're gonna break this up into portions. So we're gonna do Freakazoid first, then we're gonna do Captain Planet. I didn't know until I bought this, let me just stop for a second and show you. This wonderful first season DVD set of Freakazoid from Warner Home Video. Oh, I thought that was a signature up top. That's some schmutz. And I didn't realize at the time just how many people who worked on this show worked on other shows that I watched and very much enjoyed as a child. The same team responsible for Freakazoid was also responsible for Animaniacs and Tiny Toon Adventures, all of which were executive produced by the great Steven Spielberg. Some of you might be thinking, hey, you know, don't be putting Spielberg on no pedestal. Well, why not? You know, I mean, he's one of the most influential filmmakers of all time, and one of my personal favorites. I mean, of course, yeah, I love Jurassic Park, you know, and Jaws, but I'm gonna start this over. I'm not getting the face anatomy right. I have a friend who dressed up as Freakazoid one year for Halloween. And I've seen a handful of cosplays of Freakazoid at the shows that I've done, but very few and far between. This Freakazoid was on the air the year that I created Lucky Zilla, 1995. And as the documentary on the first season DVD suggests, the show was going to have a much more serious tone, which I kind of find a little hard to believe, knowing my 10-year-old self watching it. But I guess in hindsight, it kind of makes sense. I mean, he's a superhero, but he's kind of not. And they just went in all different directions with it. And I think the results, considering what they were going for and what they ended up with, are just amazing. I mean, it is pure comedic genius. Now, one particular episode of Freakazoid that I think, other than Candlejack, gets a decent amount of dialogue going is Handman and Handgirl. It's like a love story with Freakazoid's own hands and eventually feet. So it would be a cardinal sin, I think, if I didn't take that approach and include them in this drawing. So I'm Facebook friends with the executive producer of Freakazoid, Tom Ruger, who's been in the animation industry forever. Really, really sweet guy. I mean, some of the old timers of animation, from what I've understood, aren't always the kindest people to talk to, especially to fans, depending on who it is we're talking about. But Tom is a really, really nice guy. He started in animation in '78 as an animator, I believe, on the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla cartoon, which I loved. And the gentleman who did the voice of Freakazoid, Paul Rugg, he's hysterical. I love Paul Rugg. He's got a voiceover pamphlet that let me see if I can show Paul some love. Voice over pamphlet. When this is over, I highly recommend seeing this video. Paul's a really funny dude, and we wish to extend our condolences to him and his family. The recent loss of their dog Lucky, who was the subject of Paul's own viral video a few years ago, where it was commonly referred to as guy just wants to pet his dog, and when he goes to actually pet his dog, the dog just starts like growling endlessly and biting and nipping or whatever. And I took to that very well, only because I had a dog growing up named Lucky, and the video itself was hysterical. And it was done by somebody who was a piece of my childhood. So, I mean, how can you go wrong? Don't answer that question, or I might hit you. Okay. Go off camera first. Off draw cam for a second so that I can save. I don't like to share the inner workings of my computer, because who knows who's going to be able to like hack in while I'm doing this. So I'm paranoid at times. I guess while I'm still showing just my ugly face on camera, I want to give a shout out to the recently released Blu-ray and DVD sets, the definitive restorations of Laurel and Hardy. I know some people that worked on these discs, particularly film restoration artist or digital film restorer. I don't know exactly what title you would like me to refer to you as, Thad Komorowski. This set I pre-ordered back in January, and it was released at the end of June. My God, it was so worth the wait. It was so worth the wait. The films that are on here have never looked this good, and I've been watching Laurel and Hardy films since I'm about 6 years old. The first one I ever saw was Saps at Sea. Not on this set, but the trailer is on this set. But just to give you a rundown of what's on here: Sons of the Desert, Birthmarks, Bratz, Hog Wild, Come Clean, One Good Turn, Me and My Pal, Helpmates, The Music Box, The Chimp, County Hospital, Scram, Their First Mistake, The Midnight Patrol, Busybodies, Way Out West, Toad in a Hole, Twice Two, and the recently rediscovered gag reel, That's That, as well as their only color film short, Tree in a Test Tube. That is, if you're not counting their 1930 feature appearance, the lost film, The Rogue Song. Oh, and last but not least, the recently partially lost film, Battle of the Century. There are a number of commentaries on most of, if not all of the films. I haven't really encountered too many films that don't have commentaries from Randy Skredvet. Sorry, Randy, if I'm butchering your name. And Richard W. Ban. There are interviews with some of the people that worked in these films, including Anita Garvin and Billy Bletcher, who is also the voice of Peg Leg Pete in the Disney shorts. You know, I know I should be drawing, but I just wanted to give a shout out to this set, to MVD Visual, to Kit Parker Films, and I think Sprocketfall. I just couldn't see the logo. That's a good thing I ordered new glasses. They should be in, I'd say by the end of next week. So you guys did a phenomenal job on this set. It's very affordable. If you don't have a Blu-ray player, it's available on DVD for a little bit less money. There's just more discs because that's kind of how it works. Is you can fit more on a Blu-ray disc than you can on a DVD, even in high definition. So I highly recommend that you pick this up on Amazon. So we got Freak in here. Freak of me, freak of you. Now, Captain Planet has kind of a, well, you know, he was created in some kind of, I guess we could say, goodwill by media mogul Ted Turner. You know, when Earth Day was, oh, my tablet doesn't like me. It's almost time to trade up Windows 7 and finally make the plunge to Windows 10 on this computer. It's not like I haven't used Windows 10 yet. I just you know, don't like to mess around too much on things, because I know the second I upgrade and shit starts to hit the fan, I'm not going to be able to go back, which I would like to if the option is there. I don't know what they were thinking when they came up with Captain Planet. I mean, as a kid, I thought it was great. Although at the same time, I mean, it's just another one of those things. I think there was talk of a Captain Planet movie not too long ago. I'm glad that got squashed, because it's fine. You know, we don't need to keep remaking every blessed thing that's ever been made. I think Whoopi Goldberg was a voice in the Captain Planet show. Probably because of Ted Turner that they were able to get her. Probably made a deal or something. One of the best incarnations that I've seen of Captain Planet of all time, which is not family appropriate, is the animated shorts done by Australian cartoonist Sexual Lobster that were done maybe like 10 years ago. Oh my god, they're hilarious. There's one where I think the Australian election is coming up, and they have like a roundtable discussion with some politicians that are running for office and some other offbeat characters, including Ray Mellon, whoever that is, Raptor Jesus, and of course Captain Planet, who's got dad bod. He made the dad bod fashionable before Thor did. So let's see now. Like, what the hell is on Captain Planet's face? I've never been able to figure that out. And the mullet. What's up with the mullet? I know it's the 90s, but can we see it here? Alright, cool. Yeah. Never been able to figure that out. And don't get me wrong, I love mullets. Mullets are funny. Here an Aussie Captain Planet is in the Sexual Lobster cartoons is it's really something that needs to be seen to be believed. I don't know if these are like scars on his face or whatever, but I'm putting them in as like lightning bolts. Where he's doing like some weird skin treatment that this couple does in these Facebook videos that my girlfriend is always showing me that are very disturbing. You know, I mean, it is good to, you know, take care of the environment and all, but at the same time produce like lame crap like this. Not really helping the cause. I've been live for like a half hour already? Oh, come on. Time, like, really sneaks up on you, man. And I'm not putting the other stuff in for a little bit. Because we're gonna finish this up in, Adobe InDesign. Now we're gonna do the brother, and of course we're gonna ink all this stuff. Notice how I'm not tracing, but of course, you know, if you're learning, I do recommend tracing over photos to get a better sense of the anatomy of the human figure. Because, I mean, there is no better way to learn. That's how I did, at least when I had a light box and not a tablet, which I do now. The only time where tracing is a problem is if I were to just, you know, go over this, yada yada yada. I'm not even doing a really good job, which is kind of the point. If I were to just go and use this and pass it off as my own work without giving credit to, I believe this is Carmine Infantino that drew this cover. You know, that's not good. That's not good. I have used tracing in some Lucky Zilla comics. It was done off of pictures that I took of myself, production photos, and there was really no need to credit anyone because, well, I was the guy. Actually, I just remembered. Oh, we have a cat here. And sometimes I forget that Freakazoid, his alter ego's brother, Duncan, wears a hoodie and is constantly working out. And beating up on his younger brother, which is not cool. I don't know if anyone donated to the GoFundMe that I shared information about on my last episode, but if you happen to, I want to thank you, and I'm sure my friend Perdita does too, because she lost her husband on July 4th very suddenly, and I mean, it's especially difficult to lose people when you least expect, and in this time, man, you know, it's terrible. So if you did contribute to the fundraiser, I thank you. I'm debating on how I want to do this background. Okay, I'm gonna move that off. We're gonna save this. I'm gonna go kind of tall on this wall right here. Some sandbags of flour, or whatever the hell that is. I'm gonna distort them just a little bit. The name of the song that's playing through Epidemic Sound right now is called Best Stories Are Short. I almost thought for a second it was a piece from the Nutcracker Suite by Tchaikovsky. Almost kind of has a nutcracker vibe to it. There's also some steel beam thing going on here. So. Now what I'm gonna do, even though we're only using a portion of the steel beam, is I'm gonna draw the whole thing. But it's gonna be fairly easy. I know, famous last words when I say I'm going to draw something that's easy. It never is. But at the same time, that's kind of not the point. One of the reasons I decided to do this show in the first place was to challenge myself artistically. And for the past 94 and about to be 95 episodes, I feel like I've done just that. And there's always more to learn. You know, like, I mean, if I were to stop doing this tomorrow, which I've thought about doing many, many times, I mean, there would still be plenty more that I would want to do to get to the level of satisfaction that I feel I need to have. I think we're kind of in a safe enough spot to start inking. but I'm going to do things just a little bit differently. Okay, there we go. Switch some things up a bit so that this way not everything looks the same. Even though I flip that upside down, I mean, still, let's be real here. Let's also throw this in here as a swatch. And let's see how it's working. And it's not so much, and one of the reasons why is because swatches generally work best if they're done as squares. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that out. We're going to ungroup this. And we're going to try to make this a square. I'm going to take a little bit of that, put it over there. And we also want to kind of even this out a little bit. I had a boss who was a really terrible person. Despite that, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that sometimes you can learn things from terrible people. I mean, when you balance out certain elements of design, you notice a big difference and a reason to go that extra mile to make sure that certain things are done a certain way. He used a lot of big words to describe what it was that he was getting at, and I just couldn't keep up. I thought he was just being a douchebag in the way that he said it, but I got what he was trying to convey, but kind of didn't need to with all the big words. Like dichotomy and infinitesimal and all sorts of other things that, you know, that put him up on a high horse. I mean, that, of course, being said, you can learn a lot from terrible people. As crazy as that sounds. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you should go looking for things to learn from terrible people. Okay. One of the reasons why this isn't working is because... Oh, hang on, I gotta get the door. Steph, if you're watching this, you just got dusted. You might be wondering what the hell that means. Well, my girlfriend is part of this wine fairy group. And it's men and women that will post their address in the Facebook group. And very anonymously, they will drive around their local area and drop off bottles of wine, which is kind of cute. Now you see, we got the cement molding over here. That's one of the reasons why this thing is not working the way it should. Now, the more square we make it, I think the better off it's going to be. And also, I think if we take that away, that'll make it much more consistent. Got textures going on here on Drezen Draws. What do we think of next? Okay, now what we're going to do is going to add this swatch pattern. I'm going to go down here and click on this sucker and boom. But it's still not perfect. And you know why? We've got to shrink these things down. Ever so slightly. Now this is by no means going to be a perfect brick wall. But you see, with a little bit of doing, we just built that damn brick wall up. Oops. There we go. It's practically seamless. You know, I'm just going to move on because I spend all day here worrying about a goddamn brick wall. I'll never get out of here. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to go up here. And we're going to try something that I don't normally do. I'm going to screw around with some symbols. Now, the 3D effects in Illustrator, I cannot, you know, state the need for cartoonists to find better ways of dealing with perspective. Because I'll tell you something right now. I mean, you could be the greatest. You could be the best illustrator in the world, but I'm telling you right now, backgrounds will kill you. They kill me constantly, which is one of the reasons why I suggest to people, you know, that come up to me. You know, like, oh, how do I get a job in the industry? And I hate to impersonate people like that, but, you know, I gotta be honest. The industry is a loaded term. And I'll tell you something else. A lot of people will not make it that far. And one of the ways that you do start to make it is by doing your own stuff. You have to be able to produce. Like, I mean, it's not a maybe. You have to be able to produce. Okay, let's change to diffuse shading. There's honestly really not a big difference between the two that I can see. I could zoom in, but I'm not really able to. But as you can see right here, you got hang on. And it doesn't really matter if the perspective is off, because from the angle which I chose, it's not really gonna matter. Trying to rotate it the other way because I can tell from here that it doesn't quite look lined up. Okay, that looks a lot better. Now let's try the plastic shading again. See if it makes a difference. Yeah, it doesn't really. Okay, alright. That's good. Let's zoom in, let's see what we got. I mean, we got ourselves a little wall here. Now we're going to expand the appearance so that this way, you know, kind of try to take it easy on the RAM here. We might actually make a new file and save over this so that this way, you know, we're not overloading my computer with stuff. I mean, that's something you can very easily do in Illustrator. When and where you can, refuse to draw sets. Because I'm telling you right now, it's better to eat up your system's memory by drawing characters than it is to draw backgrounds. I speak from experience. That brick wall is kind of killing us right now in the RAM department. For those of you that don't know what RAM is, it's okay. RAM helps determine the speed of your computer. It's very important. But having more RAM doesn't necessarily mean it'll give you a faster computer. It helps with the processing speed, but the processor is what you really need to focus on when buying a computer. So if you have a lot of RAM, but you have a crap processor, doesn't do you any favors. And I think that's all we need, really. Right here, we can get rid of the roughs. Let's of course first save, because that's extremely important. When you're doing something that's eating up a lot of RAM, yeah, it's a good idea to save as often as you possibly can. put the obelisk basically right there in the background. Hey, come on. See, this is why we need to go to a new file with this. We're going to kind of cheat it there. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to work on the steel beam. I realize I'm using the mouse a lot right now, but my experience has been showing me that sometimes mechanical objects are better created with a mouse. I mean, anything that's kind of cut by machine or whatever. Again, I mean, you do whatever the hell you want. I'm just saying that this is what's worked for me. Let's see. Oops. It helps to have a tablet for the drawing of characters. I mean, in terms of technical illustration, well, it really all depends on what you're going for. I'll tell you something right now. I don't know how I did it for so long without a tablet to draw characters. That was just ludicrous. Okay. Get rid of this guy. this off. And honestly, I don't care if anyone's watching right now or not, because I'm still gonna do this. That's how I roll. There we go. And yes, I know we're cheating like crazy, but you know, let's be real here. You want to spend more time than you have to on something that really is a pain in the ass to do in the first place? I sure don't. It's like getting through to unemployment. One thing I forgot to do is expand again. There we go. That's more like it. I could also make it a giant ice cream sandwich, but you know. Like I said, I don't want to spend all day on this thing. I haven't even inked the characters yet. Well, look at that. I don't know if we need this, this Flash comic anymore. Because now what we can start doing is inking our characters. But first what we're going to do is we're going to put them all in their own art boards, so I got to spread them out a little bit. And the reason why I want to do this is because when I bring them into Adobe InDesign, I want to be able to move them around a bit if I need to. Which you can't really do as easily if, oh, we don't want to forget the steel beam, do we? There we go. Because if we just kind of leave everything as is, or if we try to get them into position here, and then we go into InDesign and, you know, perhaps we want to move something very slightly, we have to go back into Illustrator. And it just adds another unnecessary step. So if there's a way that you can eliminate certain steps from the overall process, I say do it. 'Cause I have been live here for a little over an hour, and a bulk of it has not been drawing the characters. But I can't even begin to imagine how much longer I would be sitting here if I didn't do the things that I just did to try to offset this. I mean, there are still people that ask in some of the groups that I'm a member of, like, how long does it take to make a comic? The trouble with that question is that you're generalizing it too much. There really is no answer to that question. You have to determine the factors of what kind of a comic are you looking to do. Are you looking to do superheroes? Are you looking to do, you know, very cartoony, funny book stuff? I mean, what's the length of the book also? That plays a big part. And like I mentioned on one of our previous episodes, if you're going to start your comics career on a graphic novel, you are doomed. You are doomed. Don't do that. Because I kind of did that. In 2000, I made 2 LuckyZilla comics that were 64 pages long. They've never been published. You know why? Because I spent so much time penciling them, redrawing stuff, erasing, what have you. By the time it came time to ink them, I had no idea what I was going to do. I mean, was I going to do it by computer? I didn't know how. I didn't know that there was software available at the time, hardware available where I could accomplish that. I didn't know what a Wacom was, and I sure as hell, at the time, couldn't afford one. Now, I have a half-hour-long LuckyZilla animation pilot that has been in production limbo for 3 years. And two of my college professors, I should say my, two college professors at SVA told me that I was making a big mistake. They said, I mean, it's great that you have this ambition, but, you're talking about, like, years. It could be 10 years before the thing is finally released. And by the time it is, it's like, who knows where I'm going to be with Lucky in the comics, even. So, with that, I gotta tell you, start with a webcomic, start small, because you really need to find your way. You need to be able to walk before you can run. I say this from experience. And I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad by saying this, because, I'm not about that. But if you're gonna tell me that you want to be the next Walt Disney, or the next Osamu Tezuka, or the next Akira Toriyama, or whatever, I think you're making a big mistake by coming into this medium with that level of ambition. It's good to have ambition. It's not good to have too much ambition. That kind of ambition has to be built up. Because in a lot of cases, the bottom is where you start. And that's not to say that you can't make it, but I have very rarely seen anyone whose first project was a graphic novel become an instant success. I'm back in my element right now, drawing characters. I really don't care for backgrounds, and I didn't feel like overloading my system by opening up the 3D software. We want to talk RAM hogs. Two I can think of off the top of my head are Photoshop and 3D Studio Max, especially when you start getting into the complex lighting shit. That'll make your system cry. And another thing, to everyone who is just kind of married to Photoshop, I would strongly suggest that you mess around with Adobe Illustrator. There is a little bit of a learning curve, but the way that I got through that is with the tool that I use and have been using in just about every episode of Drezen Draws, the blob brush tool. I have seldom used any other tool in Illustrator. Drawing tools I'm talking about. If you have Illustrator, if you have a Creative Cloud subscription or an older version of Illustrator, well, actually, no, scratch that. If you have a Creative Cloud subscription, download Illustrator if you don't already have it, and play around with the blob brush tool. In particular, if you have a tablet. If you don't have a tablet, it's not really going to make a difference. but the blob brush tool is your friend. I love the blob brush tool. It is one of the reasons why I switched from drawing in Photoshop and copying, pasting, and image tracing in Illustrator to drawing within Illustrator. It's wonderful. I've been doing it steadily now for the past 4 years. Right around this time when the 2016 Olympics were held in Rio, that I was putting together a Lucky Zilla story strip called Rio Round the Rosie, which was published in 6 languages, including English, of course, but it was also released in Spanish, French, German, Portuguese, and Chinese. I did all the translation myself. One of my friends, Dave Gerstein, kind of yelled at me. Is like, why would you not reach out to someone who's a native speaker of any of those languages? Well, quite honestly, I couldn't afford them. Trying to think, there was what, 24 episodes of Freakazoid? There's something like a little over 24. And then it just kind of vanished. I think in a way they almost expected it was never going to air at all, because they were developing it down to the wire and they had no idea what they wanted it to be. Bruce Timm had left as, I think, the principal designer and as a producer, director, or whatever he was doing, as he felt he wasn't needed, where the thing was spiraling out of control to the point where he didn't know whether or not this was going to work or not. But truthfully, it remains a cult classic. And I don't watch it all the time, but when I do, it brings back so many pleasant memories. It's really something to behold. Okay, now we're gonna freak out here. Not gonna go crazy with the shading and all that. So I got other things I gotta do today. Let's just double check and make sure. Oh, we missed a spot. Oh, I hate when I do that. We missed a few spots, actually. Alright, and we still gotta ink Captain Planet over here, and then we'll be done. One of my favorite characters on Captain Planet was actually Captain Pollution. It was the anti-Captain Planet. I think in some cases that's what some of my friends are kind of wishing would happen. I mean, even as a kid, you know, I'd say to myself, you know, I want to see more of that Captain Pollution guy. Captain Pollution was great, and he was a candidate on Drezen Draws way back in the beginning. I think he was a candidate in one of the very first shows 2 years ago. We're going to take off the smoothing because we don't really need it here. Okay, got an email from a company that I recently bought something from, and they're like, yeah, it's our 16th birthday, and I'm like, I wish I never signed up for any email lists. And I had one for LuckyZilla. I still have a MailChimp account, but I hate email marketing. It just gets to be a little invasive and a little tacky. That's one of the reasons why. If any of you subscribe to the LuckyZilla email list, you haven't gotten anything in a while, because I don't like that kind of tacky ass marketing. I've thought about going back to it just, you know, to drive sales, but at the same time, I think social media is really a much better way to go in terms of that. Some of my contemporaries feel otherwise, and that's okay, but, you know, from my perspective, it just doesn't really help. I don't like to shove things in people's faces. I don't like it done to me. I had a friend who I no longer speak to, who used some really aggressive marketing practices that I didn't care for. And I kicked him off one episode of Drezen Draws because he kept trying to push it on the viewers. I called him out on it. He's like, come on, man, I'm trying to make a living. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm trying to do a show. It's fine, but ask permission first. Like, oh, I'm gonna ask permission for a live video. Okay, maybe I'll go do it somewhere else. I'm like, alright, Karen, go right ahead. Do your thing. It really takes a lot for me to block somebody. And this guy had really just crossed the line. Plus, he was also promoting something, I will not say the name of which, because it's not worth... It's really not worth naming. But it was something that was successfully funded on Indiegogo, and to the best of my knowledge, he ran 3 successful campaigns and still has yet to deliver the goods on the first one. So I'm not going to make myself look bad on this show by allowing him to promote something he still has yet to deliver in other phases. He's like, oh, well, I'm working full time and this, that, and the third. And I'm just like, you didn't deliver the stuff, man. What are you going off on me for? You're the bad businessman. I mean, it's like I'm broke and I'm unemployed, but I still keep putting out comics. He also tried to get me to host a panel at a show that he does. I said no, after the whole Indiegogo thing and the fallout. I was just like, nah, dude, I got nothing to say. For me to come out of my way and do a show where he was doing the show for an hour and having to pay for it on top of that. I mean, it's like, no, you pay me if I'm gonna come all the way out there. I mean, it's one thing if it's 10 miles to travel, or even 30, but, when I gotta spend my time and my gas, and I don't get either of those compensated, that's kind of annoying for me. That's one of the reasons why I'm not crazy about being a Postmates driver, but it's a little something until my unemployment stuff is straightened out. Trying to think if it was Saturday Night Live or it was just an internet short where Don Cheadle played Captain Planet and turned everyone into trees. But that was hysterical. Definitely seek that out. So that's pretty damn funny. Not as funny as Sexual Lobsters stuff, but it's up there. Tree, 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 tree. You'd almost think he was friggin' Bob Ross. Love of trees. I do not like the way that belt looks. At least not the angle of which he's standing. Squishy! Cats. My favorite. Come on. Oh, you can't see her from here. Oh, switch to the other cat. Love Squishy. She a good girl. She give kisses. And delicious. Okay, back to the drawing. Oh yeah. I also do birthday parties and corporate events, so if you like what you see here, hire me. I also have a board game out. Buy it on luckyzilla.com. I'm going over here, right? Right. I didn't watch G.I. Joe growing up. Wasn't really a fan of it. Still, I'm not really a fan of it. And I know Captain Planet had its own PSAs after each episode. And most of us remember Fensler Film, which redubbed the PSAs in the early 2000s, which were absolutely hilarious. If you've not seen the Fensler Film PSAs, I strongly recommend that you do. They're out of this world. This looks like a drow from Dungeons and Dragons and what's that movie, Akira. Nah, he's got green eyes. What the hell am I doing? Blue guy with green hair. I wonder whose bright idea that was. Could have been Turner again. I will say he's a decently designed character. I forget who did his voice, but he was very well acted. I mean, it's just the overall concept is kind of douchey. It really is. So yes, I went there. I drew Captain Planet on Drezen draws. You know, here we go. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna shift Adobe InDesign over here. Oh no. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna make a new document. It's gonna be 8.5, 11. Make a new frame. Eventually I'll do this like full bleed and maybe sell prints of it. I don't know. You know, let's do the bleeds now. Bleed is very important. Take it from me, I've worked in the printing industry for a little over 10 years. I know what I'm talking about. People have no idea what bleed is, but the easy lesson is when you set up something that has color or images or whatever going to the edge and you print it out, it's going to have borders around it, which I'm sure you don't want. So to ensure that you don't get that, and also when this stuff is getting printed and it's getting cut, you have to have a little something extra that is going to get cut off. And I know I'm talking in technical terms that some of you are not going to understand, but just keep up with me here. It's extremely important. You don't want to have anything that's going too close to the edge because it's going to get cut off. But you do want to have something so that this way everything goes right to the edge. I mean, this is how it's done. It may sound stupid, but trust me, I've been doing this a while. Okay, that's the only thing we got in the background, so it's fine. Want that to go all the way to the edge. And we can kind of bring it up a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to import other elements, and we're going to crop to the art. Just in case. Okay, now we can move this stuff around and fit it to wherever our art is content. Now we're going to put Planet and Freakazoid respectively on opposite sides. I'm going to put Duncan here. Somewhere around here. I'm gonna shrink these doofuses. And there we go. And I think just for kicks, we're going to put in some dialogue. What's the name? Okay. Get rid of the hyphenation because we don't do hyphenation. And Bella's purring like a humidifier over here. Now I gotta figure out exactly where this is going to go. Let's see now. There it is. So yeah, I apologize for the long break in between episodes. I've just been taking care of a lot of things, and also I did a little film restoration project of one of my early animated shorts, Atomics, which is due for release at the end of this month, July 30th. The trailer is on the LuckyZilla Facebook page, and it's going to be released on YouTube, pending any other potential copyright notices, because I used a whole bunch of music from copyrighted sources back in the day, and I do not condone music piracy. And maybe we all did it when we were younger. It's not good. So don't do it. There's sources like Epidemic Sound, which I use for Drezen Draws, which is very affordable at $15 a month. They're not paying me to say this. I'm paying them, and I enjoy their service, and I encourage you to do the same thing. You know, and I mean, if you are going to use music that isn't yours, acknowledge it and support the official releases. 'Cause, I mean, it's like I'm not going to throw shade at you if you use something that isn't yours and something that you do. But what I do have a problem with is when people pass certain things off as their own when they're not. So, in that case, what is this, episode 95 now? I'm starting to forget. But we're 5 shows away from 100, and there's going to be more information coming up about that as we get closer to it. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and stay drawsome.